Hello, everyone. Steve Kime with the Enid Television Network. Thank you for joining us today. The Experimental Aircraft Association has brought a real treat to Woodring Regional Airport today, and we have a version of the Tin Goose. I can start with that, but it's the Experimental Aircraft Association's 1929 Ford Trimotor 4ATE. The pilot is with me, Ed Rusch. Ed, thank you. Welcome to Enid, first off. Thanks for being here, and appreciate you talking with me. Tell us about your involvement in this plane. We'll talk about the plane in a moment, but how about your involvement?
When I was a kid in 1973, I went to work for a little outfit in Ohio that had the last operational Ford Trimotor in the world. And after I had flown for them for several years, they actually put me in the Trimotor. So I actually flew Ford Trimotors in the 70s and 80s, and then went off and made a living all over the world for a number of years. And then about 5 years ago, I was invited to come and fly Trimotors again with EAA. And it's been like going home. Love them. Great airplane. We bring the museum to the people. We treat this airplane as a flying museum. It's an artifact, and we are an outreach to the general public from general aviation. We want people to come out and see how the airlines began. All of the major airlines that started in the 30s and 40s and 50s started with Ford Trimotors. And although the Ford wasn't top of the line for more than just a few years, it was the beginning. It was the ultra-reliable airplane of the late 20s and early 30s. It set a new standard.
As you look at the Model Ts behind us in this late 20s vintage aircraft, that's the way it looked in 1929.
That's the way it
You
looked.
pull up in your Model T, get out. But tell us, how did the airplane get introduced by Henry Ford?
In 1923, a gentleman by the name of William Stout, Bill Stout, went to see Mr. Ford, and he said, "Mr. Ford, if you will finance my airplane company, I will build you the safest airplanes in the world." And Henry and his son Edsel got along like oil and water, but they had one area that they agreed on, and that was that aviation had a future. So Henry and Edsel put together a consortium that financed the Stout Metal Airplane Company division of Ford Motor Company. And William Stout went to work designing aircraft, and for the next couple of years they had some relatively unsuccessful designs, and in 1926 they came up with the first of the three-engined aircraft, the 4AT, actually the 3AT, which was unsuccessful, and then the 4AT, which was successful. This is a version of the 4AT. The prototype flew in 26, and the production really started in 27 and went through 32. They built 199 total Ford Trimotors of two major groups, the 4AT and the 5AT. The 5AT is very slightly larger than this airplane. Side by side, you wouldn't know the difference, but they built 199 of them total.
Ed Rusch is our special guest today, and again serves as the pilot that has flown the Trimotor, Ford Trimotor, here to Woodring Regional Airport. You kind of touched on some of the description, and what does it look like inside? 10 passenger, right?
Yes, we have 9 passengers in the cabin area, and then we use the right seat also. This airplane can be flown by a single pilot, so we put another passenger in the co-pilot seat up there. That is the special seat up there. It's very much Art Deco inside from its period. This airplane isn't identical to what it was coming out of the factory, but it gives you the idea of the Art Deco type of design from that era. This airplane has a wingspan of 74 feet. It's 50 feet long. Maximum gross weight is 10,130 pounds. It bludgeons its way through the air at about 85 miles per hour, burning about 65 gallons of gasoline per hour. Not terribly efficient by today's standards, but by 1929 standards, it was the 787 Dreamliner of its day.
Ed, every once in a while I'll go to a car show and I'll see a 58 Chevy Bel Air or, the Mustang and you just go back down the memory road, I imagine when people come to where you land, where you take this tri-motor, they come back and they reminisce.
We have quite a few people now. There are actually two groups that are really excited about the airplane, and that is the folks who are now way up there in their 80s and 90s, because if they rode in an airplane back then, chances are they rode in a Ford tri-motor. And then the young people, because the young people look at it and they say ooh and ah, and they get a physical experience out of it. And we have a lot of smiles when the older folks and the younger folks come off. We have a lot of smiles.
When I walked out here on the tarmac earlier, and my first glance at it, it just reminded me of a mail plane. You know, I could just see it landing, throwing out a big old canvas bag of mail, and off it would go.
Well, they did use them for mail also. They were built specifically by Henry Ford as a passenger airliner, the first all-metal passenger airliner in the United States. Not the first all-metal airliner, because that was in Germany right after World War I. That was built by Hugo Junkers. But this particular airplane uses Junkers' design and construction techniques, and it became an ultra-reliable airplane, definitely used for mail and passengers.
Two more questions real quick, Ed. Number one is, how much fun are you having flying this?
Well,
tri-motor?
It's probably not very describable. I just
big kid again, huh?
I'm a big kid again. Yes, definitely. I love doing this, and I do this as much as I can every year. Being semi-retired, I'm pretty flexible, and I spend as much time on the road with our Fords as I can.
Well, I certainly appreciate the access that you've given to us here to look at the Ford tri-motor and to go inside and take a look at things here at Woodring Regional Airport. I'd like to remind everybody they can go to flytheford.org to learn more about the organization and, of course, the Ford tri-motor. Again, this is the Experimental Aircraft Association. Ed Rusch, welcome to Enid. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being here, and thank you for bringing the Experimental Aircraft Association's Ford tri-motor to Woodring Regional Airport. This is Steve Kime with the City of Enid. Thanks for joining us today.